I'm Amita Nijhaban. I work as an educational developer in academic enhancement, but I've also had the privilege of working with the wonderful LCC Changemakers.
Changemakers has been running at UAL since 2017. It was set up to support the desire of both staff and students wanting to work in partnership on projects to improve learning, pedagogy and the wider student experience.
LCC Changemakers are student and alumni partners who work closely with staff teams, course teams, program teams to embed decoloniality and social justice into the curriculum and into teaching and learning. Beyond that, they also work with libraries, the Creative Attributes Framework, and various other collaborators and partners that are beyond UAL. Co-creation is not new. We work with co-creation for as long as we've been working in teaching and learning, but what we hope is that co-creation will lead to social transformation.
Hi, my name's Lucy Panesar and I had the honour of hiring, training and managing 2 generations of LCC Changemakers between 2020 and 2022. The first generation of Changemakers started with me in April 2020, just as we went into lockdown. So I had to adapt our ways of working pretty quickly for us to be able to proceed remotely. This came with all the challenges you'd expect, with technology and internet connections, with illness and domestic disruptions, but we still managed to proceed and progress. And on reflection, I'd say that flexibility, openness and compassion were key to this. In 2022, the second generation of Changemakers were keen to meet Changemakers from other universities in the UK and beyond in other parts of the world. I felt this would be beneficial not just for the LCC Changemakers, but for educational development more broadly. So I secured the authority and the funding to pursue this, and it led to 2 enriching and inspiring panel discussions between LCC Changemakers and Changemakers from the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil and the University of Kent in Canterbury, which is where I'm now based.
The most rewarding part of this project for me is the potential to learn from so many passionate people as we all use our expertise and knowledge to help transform the learning experience of many.
Today we've invited Changemakers and some staff to say what their experience is of either being a changemaker or working with changemakers. So you might hear from changemakers talking about their experience of working with staff or course teams. You might also hear from staff talking about their experience of working with a changemaker and the kind of impact it can have on the curriculum and on teaching and learning. You might also hear about the challenges of this kind of work. It's sensitive work, it's often challenging work, it's often work where not everyone is on board with what you're trying to do. So today we're going to talk about some of the joys and the challenges of being a changemaker and working with changemakers.
My name is Cassia Clark. I have recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in photojournalism and documentary photography. My work centres around heritage and archives, particularly within the household, and I've become somewhat of a veteran LCC Changemaker since this is my 2nd year doing it. I would say the best part of being an LCC Changemaker is the collaboration and the openness that people show to this kind of work. I was working with the Sound Arts programme this year and I was quite overwhelmed by how integrated and easy it was to just be a part of their team, which makes me kind of want to be part of their team again. But it was just the potential that they showed, because it's always a slow process, but the potential of growth and improvement is very much clear and very much evident in their passion to improve education for students as well as staff.
My name is Nieves Mingueza. I'm an artist, I'm a researcher working with photography, archival material, installation and text. I have an MA in photojournalism and documentary photography. Currently, I'm a PhD student at LCC. My research is about violence against women and girls, particularly the representation of that. So as a LCC changemaker, I'm proud of my learning experience with Amita and the other changemaker. We had interesting sessions about anti-race, for example, no violent communication, and intersectionality. I really enjoy these collective sessions. This learning gave me the confidence and skills to plan my first project based on co-creation between students and staff.
My name is Kushagra. I'm a photographer and a filmmaker. I'm studying my master's in filmmaking here at London College of Communication, where I'm also working as a changemaker. The possibility of collaborating with fellow changemakers and climate advocates in the university has been something that I really enjoyed with this role. What has been extremely helpful to myself as a person, it's different changemakers from different parts of the world, different cultures coming together and talking about their own lived experiences. It's something that has given me so much from the world, from people's personal experiences and their worldviews and notions about the world, and also helped me grow as a person, made me aware of so many things that I had no clue about, and also empathetic towards certain issues which I didn't even think were something that I would notice if I didn't know about them.
I'm Trey, and I'm an experienced designer, and I did masters in service design and graduated last year. And my thesis was also about decolonial approach and social justice. I did enjoy learning about what other courses are doing, and also like when I was a student, I didn't really know like what other courses are doing, and just didn't know if they are existing or not. But like it was really good opportunity to learn like how other courses are embedding social justice and how they're approaching their courses and how they are communicating with their students to embed all the things. So when I was working on my like personal project, it was about their business, like someone else's project. But when I was working as a change maker, I looked at the problems through a lens of a student and also as a person who is very much interested in the decolonial approach and social justice. So yeah, it was really interesting to look at problems as a designer and also as a former student.
My name is Kerung. I am a recent graduate of BA Animation and a changemaker of movie image and digital arts. My research focus is on decolonization in British museums. The acquisition of many artifacts in British museums and the narratives they tell are parts of the colonial legacy. While some museums have taken steps towards decolonization, there are still institutions that do not acknowledge the origins of their artifacts. I'm not just concerned about how museums have acquired their artifacts, but also how they portray the history, whether it's from an imperialist perspective or if it has also included the perspectives of the colonized countries. To bring this issue to life, I created an animation titled Lost in Reunion. The story is about a Chinese girl who was forcibly taken from her father by a European soldier. The father must pay 6 million euros to get back his own daughter. This is inspired by the real story of a Chinese summer palace bronze head which was looted during Western colonization in the 19th century and was auctioned for 6 million euros back to China in the 21st century. I have made a presentation of my research and animation project to the program team during a self-development session to help them better understand what decolonization means. It has been well received, and I was also invited by some course leaders to present it to their students.
My name is Zarifa, and I'm a changemaker at LCC.
Hey, my name's Dee. I'm one of the senior lecturers on the BA Photography program, and I've been working with Zarifa over here on the development of a new course, the BA Commercial Photography course, and particularly its course handbook. I've been a socially engaged practitioner before I became an educator at LCC. And one of the things that struck me when we first started speaking was really that seriousness, actually, that kind of commitment to wanting to see change, and change based on experience. So one of the things that happens in what I see with our students is that they go through these experiences, but they're not able to affect what happens in their curriculum, what happens with relationships with individual tutors, or even the wider institution. And so one of the things that we spoke about in our first kind of meeting is like, what strategies can we do to change that? And then we started speaking about the course and some of the ideas about the course. And I think the thing that struck me most is when Zarifa was speaking with me, there's an urgency to what the change is, and an urgency that I didn't necessarily have myself. Like, I think I have the ideas as someone who's developing a course that is designed to be more inclusive, but maybe because I'm lost in the everyday of my work, I'm not really seeing the things that are quite urgent. And so for me, the things that Zarifa kind of pulled out were things around that should be explicit within the kind of planning of a new course. So we worked together on a particular unit, which was called the casting unit. And it was designed to be a unit that would think about the ways in which we could prepare students to work in a much more kind of like culturally responsive work environment. So how are you casting? Who are you casting? Why are you casting people from different communities?
I think it was quite an interesting position because being a former student, I think especially a person of color, you get all these experiences when you're kind of being tendered to by the photography team. And being on the staff side and having a role like the changemaker where you're actually being treated as a colleague and you're there to kind of identify the gaps and suggest changes, it's quite a big responsibility. And I think I took it quite seriously where not just for my own experiences, but just for everybody's sake. And I think that everybody has a chance to learn, and that's the first lesson, part of the changemaker training that I've learned. And I really took it seriously in that sense. So through the changemaking training, we learned that we have a responsibility, and we also have the opportunity to actually create something, anything that you would like.
My biggest problem as a changemaker this year was time management. Not that I'm massively bad at time management, but because I was in my third year, I had a lot of work to do for my course, which made it sometimes hard to manage the role of being a changemaker alongside that stuff. But they were very forgiving, I would say, for the lack of time I had because my course ate up a lot of it.
The very obvious challenges which come being a part of this program and being a changemaker is the constant stimulus of experiences around racism, belonging, biases, and so many more things which one just can't ignore. It just happens, one just notices it. I have been noticing so many more of these issues across the world as I became a part of this program. What really helps to counteract these thoughts and these notions is again that sense of a safe space that this program comes with, where all the change makers come together and talk about these experiences and make each other feel included and support each other. So whereas there are challenges, there are also ways that we find around it, and that's something that I have personally grown with through this role.
For me, it was challenging when I realized that there are things that cannot be changed in the short term. So I had to negotiate with myself my own expectations. But on the other hand, I know this is a process, so I'm sure we'll see the results, the positive results in the future.
When I think about the potential of this kind of work, the potential is endless. We can really reimagine what education means. This includes things like the impact and opportunity of AI and other digital tools, assessment for the future, social justice, climate change, and sustainability. There are so many opportunities as well as challenges, but if we work in partnership together, there's always a solution to the world's many problems. Having staff's professional input at every stage of a project, while students also bring their expertise and lived experience, really shows the degree of responsibility that we can take in making informed decisions to really change the life of others. The balance between staff and students' input helps us to really show how we can empower one another and make sure that the learning journey is fit for all.
The impact of change-making work can be enormous. And the change makers also bring in their research and practice into their work. So they could be working on something like the colonial history that impacts the British Museum, or they could be working on the archives of family photographs, or many other interesting projects. So the impact is huge, but what we need is support both from staff and students. So if you're staff and you want to work with a change maker or you want to know more about it, please do get in touch. And if you're a student or recent graduate, then get in touch if you want to be a change maker and want to make a difference to the curriculum.